So that's great. Now, Gordana, in a similar fashion, a lot of Archicad users would possibly know you through the Graphisoft community and your activities there in terms of the posts that you make. And there's obviously been other videos and events that you've been part of and presented on behalf of Graphisoft. Now, we have known each other for several years, and I have to kind of admit that. And, even to the point that, there was a photo that I remember bringing out that I shared back with you and Martin Kish when we took you out for lunch when you were here visiting Australia. But,
Sure.
and this is one of the things, along with the user community out there, may not know much more about you than the Graphisoft community, and not know much about your professional career. So what has been your journey that you've kind of taken so far? Well, let's just take the steps from maybe high school or maybe even before that. It'd be interesting to know whether there's any little insights behind why you are where you are now. Was there something when you were a toddler that excited you or something?
Well, I have no idea how I ended up studying architecture and how I chosen this career path, to be honest with you, because I didn't know any architect in my environment. But I guess, as a younger sister, that I was under influence of my older brother, and who was actually choosing the path to study technical. I mean, he went to technical university and he went to this electrotechnical high school. So I thought I want to do that because I saw him doing some technical drawings, and I was like, wow, this is also what I want to do, and I want to be like him. And then I learned somewhere about architecture. I think I was watching a movie or something where there was an architect in a movie and he was designing this house, and I thought, oh my God, this is beautiful. Maybe I can do this. And then throughout the high school, whenever someone was asking me what you gonna study, and I was like, architecture. I think I didn't know what that exactly means, or what is all that you have to learn and have to do. But I really liked it. I entered architectural university. It hasn't been always easy, but I really enjoyed it. And actually, I also have, a same feeling about Graphisoft work, is that I ask myself, did I choose this career path or did it choose me? Because when I was on the university, I did one student competition. It was an Archicad student competition to submit design of the main university building in Novi Sad. And I decided, why not? I didn't know how to use Archicad, but I opened it, I installed it, opened it, and started creating. And I was mesmerized by my first 3D model ever. But I also struggled a lot because I didn't have a proper course, so I was self-taught. And I managed to win this competition, and it was, a big achievement for my student life. And that's how I got to know a Graphisoft partner in Serbia and where I'm from, if people don't know that. And I actually later, when I finished university, I started working for them, and that's how it led me to Graphisoft. And that was my journey. And I've been also practicing architecture a bit, especially in these first years when I started working for Archicad in Serbia. I think that was actually helping me to build my knowledge around software, because I was participating in some projects in parallel to all the work with Archicad.
So what is it with American romantic comedy movies with incorporating an architect into them? It's almost as if half of the architects around this world are architects because of American or Hollywood, let's say.
I wouldn't blame it completely on the movies. I think it was more like this, technical side that I really liked. That I think it's really this influence that maybe I had from my brother into wanting to. I was always good with math and this kind of subjects at school. technical subjects. I was very bad in music and geography and this kind, some sociology and some other topics. But I really like the technical side of it, and I think that was actually what prevailed into going, because I had like a pale idea about all the technical knowledge behind it. I don't know if it was this movie or this role of a person, architect person, that was actually like some maybe subconscious part of getting me there.
I can never get out of my brain 3 Men and a Little Baby and Tom Selleck, the architect and taking the baby on site in a helmet. And I know I'm digressing quite a bit, but it's just one of those movies that's something that I never forget. It just seems to be the one movie that always sticks in my head. It's kind of similar to that kind of thing where you're kind of going, "Oh, is it my brother or is it a movie?" Now, it's really interesting. This is a really interesting conversation, because I'm going to guess that the conversations I'm going to have is going to be quite similar with several of the people from Graphisoft team, in the sense that the decision was made to leave the profession of architecture and join Graphisoft. Now, from my perspective, I in my involvement with all the conferences that I'm part of, I see so many people that have joined the software vendor side or the tech side, from architecture and engineering professions, and essentially that's kind of the foundation to a lot of the software platforms that we see in the BIM space at the moment. And I'm interested to see what your comments are as to why in terms of the transition from the profession to the kind of technical side of supplying software for the architectural profession.
Yeah, I think that's a question or even a doubt that a lot of people who are working in Graphisoft, specifically if we are talking about Graphisoft, that they have about, could I be practicing architecture, or do I miss it? Do I want to do it again? Maybe some people have less doubts or don't think that much about it and found themselves completely into doing what they're doing. But I think that I always had these doubts or thoughts about like, oh, but could I have been doing architecture, designing buildings or interior projects or anything? So it's always strong, but there is a beauty to every job, and there are of course sides that you don't like that much. So there are many things, of course, that's why I'm here and why am I doing this. And for me, the foremost is working with people. You were talking about that as well. That's what I always liked, that Graphisoft was somehow gathering all these amazing people, and I felt it even when I was working for a Graphisoft partner in Serbia, and then when I moved to Hungary and joined Graphisoft, I just got confirmed that whomever I was meeting and all the clients I was visiting all over the world was just all positive experiences, all great people, and this is really what I love about working for Graphisoft, that I never had a single bad experience with any of the customer, even when it was helping them with the projects when they were struggling to achieve something with our software. Like, it was nothing but a very nice collaboration. So I think this is really what is driving me, like working with people. And I actually had a career moment in my professional career when I thought that I want to go and be like 100% practicing architect. It was when I switched from Archicad, the Graphisoft partner, and I went to work with one architectural office in Belgrade. They're great Archicad users, Archicad, and they're really great team, and I liked it. But I started missing the job that I had, like working with different people, teaching others, and I was still in touch with that time ex-boss from Archicad, Ivan Heisler, who taught me a lot about working with people and and software and everything, and I owe him really a lot for my professional development. And he was still also calling me back when I was sitting in the office and working on some interior project, and he was like, Gordana, can you help me with this? Like, clients has been asking, where are you? And like, can you help? And there's this question, and I realized that I miss it, but actually, I don't know, Graphisoft was like a natural next step for me, and I really, I'm like happy that I made that decision.
One of the key things, I guess, takeaways that's important for, people that are watching today is understanding that, if you have completed an architecture degree, it doesn't just kind of preclude you to have to being an architect. It means that the thing that I've found is that the architecture degree in itself has enabled or given me a set of skills to become actually a really effective problem solver. And I think that's why architects or trained architects make very good people to be incorporated into kind of the software space, because essentially what you're trying to do is you're solving a design problem. And I think that the difference being is that, software is actually quite fast moving compared to architectural practice and buildings. And, there's less chances of buildings falling over and all that sort of stuff, and other people when they slip and trip and fall and the like. But from my perspective, I think that's a really kind of a key moment in terms of understanding that there is something for you in your career if you're finding that architecture in terms of building design isn't actually true for you. Like architectural training is essentially, I look at it as kind of project management, and that's why I've been able to pull off insane 24-hour events by myself. It's just, you just do these things, and I think that's the kind of the area in which people that are kind of sitting on that kind of fringe and not knowing what they want to do with their career, there's some great opportunities out there. Gordana, you and I have known each other for several years, but I've never actually asked you this question either. How many years have you actually been working with Graphisoft now?
Well, now, actually it's 7 years. Counting that I've been working for Graphisoft Partner for 4 years, so that's overall within Graphisoft family, it's more than 10 years.
And that's quite a quite interesting journey. So taking a step back and obviously not worrying about thinking about the first 4 years, because obviously that's when you're working within a reseller environment. But when you joined Graphisoft headquarters, I'm really interested in the journey that you've had and the different roles that you've had, because obviously one of the things that's really interesting, and I'm always one that takes a very strong interest in understanding organizational charts, because I always like to know who I'm talking to. So in terms of your journey, in terms of, the roles that you've taken, can you step through the kind of the journey and the different roles that you've undertaken in your 7 years in Graphisoft headquarters?
So when I joined Graphisoft, I started the technical support. I was a technical support engineer. And that was probably the shortest period in all my job positions in Graphisoft. But I really liked it because this is where really was the first time, I saw coming inside Graphisoft to see how problems are being solved and how developers are working on the software, because in the role of a technical support engineer, you communicate a lot with the developers. I got to know a lot of developers. I could really understand some things behind the software making and how Archicad is composed, specifically Archicad, because this is what I was doing support mainly with. And that was really insightful. And from technical support engineer, I went into being a Archicad consultant and BIM consultant. And this is when I was doing a lot of presentations and training in front of Graphisoft, a lot of it in person on different conferences and events. And I was working with a lot of clients directly, and this is really what I enjoyed over a couple of years. That gave me opportunity also to visit clients in their offices. I was traveling on different events and clients visits. I helped implementation of Archicad in several companies. This is really what was what's dear to me, that seeing how people are adapting and embracing the software and learning. And in the past 2 years, I got a project of Graphisoft community, and this is actually how all Graphisoft is evolving. And as you're saying, you cannot also track who is working where, and some people and they're changing position. I've seen Graphisoft growing for these 7 years a lot, and evolving and reorganizing, and we always try to see some new initiatives and new positions that are needed, and how to be more efficient, how to be better organized. So I've been staying within customer success, and customer success team has been growing, and we were introducing a lot of new functions. So one of the new functions is a community team and a community manager role. When we decided to have a dedicated website for Graphisoft community members, we had Archicad Talk forum that was operating for almost 2 decades, but we were noticing, that we need more engagement, and we need to be able to have a platform which will allow us to offer more to users, and that's how I was assigned to Graphisoft Community Project. We started working on it 2 years ago, and ever since then I'm completely in that project. I'm leading everything regarding Graphisoft Community, daily operations, all the projects to grow and to expand community, to engage users in new ways. I'm working with I have a very good team that is working on Graphisoft Community. And this is, I guess, because I was working with clients a lot. For me, this was completely new format when I started working as a community manager, because I was more accustomed to in-person communication rather than online. So I had to learn a lot about community platform, about communities in general, about communicating with people, or facing all the inputs and feedback coming from users without actually being able to see them, and to have a conversation like we are having now, at least. So this written format was completely new, but I'm really also happy to be evolving in this area, and that I've learned a lot and about communities in general, and that was again somehow leaving behind what I was doing before, and starting something new within Graphisoft again. So I didn't leave the company, but it's like doing a different job.
Before we kind of delve into the details of community, and I do have some quite pointed questions about community, I want to talk to, in terms of your role as a community manager, it's just delving into the kind of things that you do at the moment, and understanding what is happening from the role as a community manager. What are some of the main tasks that make up most of your week?
A lot of meetings. I'm joking. Yeah, it is necessary to communicate, and we do have a lot of meetings, because the community is somehow all the tasks that we have on a community project require really to be in line with a lot of other different departments, with other teams in customer success, with the product team, with marketing, with partners. So that's why I was joking about a lot of meetings, but the tasks are really diverse. I think it might, for someone looking from outside, for community members, it might look very, very simple, that you're just maintaining a website, but it's of course more complex than that. And we are, besides managing the platform daily and doing even some moderation, although we have a great team of moderators like Carl, Eduardo, Barry, Lati. They're doing a great job, like for years and decades on Graphisoft community. But Graphisoft community team is also contributing. So I have with me Amuken, Noemi, Hubia, and we also have communities on Japanese and Portuguese languages at the moment, and Rumi Koshimo-san and Celia and Rita in Brazil. They're also doing a great job on communicating on Japanese and Portuguese languages. So we are also contributing to conversations, but there are a lot of projects behind that I don't think are visible. So we are trying to improve platform. We are working a lot on improving the platform, changing things that are more user-friendly, that are easier to use. We are organizing different competitions and challenges, which I think it's important. And from how I started, I think it's giving opportunity to people, to show their work and to get connected in a different way than just written word. We are trying to bring the news all the time. So we started this Graphisoft Insights, so all managing news to come out, to bring service information, but to bring also some case studies or interesting stories. It's a task on its own. And the important part is, of course, knowledge base. So we want to provide a knowledge base on community, creation of articles. We are translating them to multiple languages, trying to keep in touch what is needed to be created. That's also part of our activities. Now also started podcasts, and we want to bring more knowledge in the form of webinars and lectures. So we're really trying to go beyond the forum conversation, because I think technology is allowing us that. So we are trying to, although we are not meeting with community members in person, we are working a lot on different ways on how to allow people to communicate and to learn about software solutions in different ways, through the challenge, through the lecture, or anything else. I think it's the technology is allowing us today. That's why maybe we got a lot of criticism of not keeping the forum in its core base as it was, because we believe that that there are different ways for people to express. Younger generations especially are all about video formats and different interaction styles. So there are a lot of behind projects for growing and for growing community. And not to mention bringing more languages. I think it's important for people to being able to communicate and express themselves in their native languages.
I think I'm already going to know the answer to this, but I have to ask the question just in case, because there's obviously, I'm sitting here overwhelmed with the volume of tasks that are going on to make the community, what it is. But is there a specific project that you've worked on within Graphisoft that kind of you're really proud of, in terms of what's the thing that you can put your stamp on as saying that you contributed to be part of?
Well, there are several software implementation with the clients that are very dear to me. I've been specifically working on a software implementation in Surbana Jurong in Singapore, and working with our team in Singapore, and the team from Surbana Jurong was really amazing, and it's very dear to me because it was the first time I was going to really a big company to work on implementing Archicad there. And I was terrified of it, and I was very proud, on how it was going. So that's one thing that really, is memorable, and that it's dear to me. But definitely, Graphisoft community is what I must say that is it's number one, because it's the first time in my Graphisoft career that I got a project in my hands, and it's not always easy, and it's not with the pace that even I would like to. I would like to bring some changes much faster and improvements. So I think what I can use this opportunity, to communicate with all the listeners and all the community members is that whoever didn't work in a big company doesn't know how, it's not easy task to communicate and to be in line with all the different departments, because the tasks get really let's say divided into portions, and then you have to again bring it back together like like a puzzle to come out with the final result. So I've been reading, sometimes comments like, or like, I can bring you a developer and you can, improve this. And I know this part of the story because when I started in Archicad, we were a company with just 3 people, and I've been doing everything. I was answering phone, I was writing invoices, I was doing technical support, doing presentations, doing marketing, updating the website. So I could do everything, and I could do it fastly. I didn't have to consult with everyone because everything I had in mind, I could just sit and do it because that's how a small company is doing. You have a freedom of putting into action what you have in mind. In a larger scale company, like, I've learned a lot, like in Graphisoft. Patience is one of the key important things, that if you have something on your mind, if you have vision, how you want to see some project developing, in a big environment, in a big company, like, you have to align with a lot of people, get feedback, consult, ask, for certain parts of the work to be done by UX, UI designers, by marketing, by product people, before you are ready to go out with it. But I'm happy to see, there is a progress. There is definitely like a very nice progress, and many things that we achieved, and I would really like to see it as a place, where anyone who is using Graphisoft products, is registered, whether they visit daily or they come occasionally on important days. But I would like to see a global community like that. I have this vision, and that's why I'm proud of this project. That it's progressing, and yeah.
Thing that I think about a lot when it comes to Graphisoft as a whole, and I think this is the one thing that a lot of people struggle with, is the first thing you said, right? When in your organisation that you're working in, there was only a few people, so therefore the scope of work and the customer base that you had was of a specific market. It was very tight. In other words, everything was kind of very easy to manage and handle. But when you're talking about a community that serves a global audience, hearing you talk about the fact that, you're trying to build sadly, I'm an Australian. I sit here and think, I can speak English and the rest of the world speak English. When you land in another country, you realize quite quickly that other people speak their own languages. It's very challenging to build something that's generalist, in other words, something that is acceptable or usable by all, but then meets the needs of every single individual within a community. So from my perspective, I think that's something that, from my perspective, I look at this and I kind of go, people just have to have that little breather and just go, things do take a little bit of time to get into place. For people that are, architecture students right now, jumping on and taking that journey that you've taken as well with regards to, participating in a student competition, and now, you're deeply ingrained and been part of the Graphisoft team for 7 years alone. I think that's something that people should take away as a massive positive. Now, moving on to some more generalized questions, and I think that I'm going to ask a lot of the team as we go through, and it might not be something. It'd be interesting to know your views on this. But what is your favorite feature within Archicad now? Do you have one as well? Or is the feature, the link to the Graphisoft community now?
No, I will. I mean, but it's very difficult to answer this. I mean, I asked you something similar, I think, earlier, and you were also struggling to say what's your favorite feature. Because there are really many things in Archicad that I like and that made, I think, this special connection with the software that we all liked in our learning curve. When you realize how powerful some features are, that's what made you really passionate about it, on how you can express your ideas and create, your designs and your models there. So there are modeling features that I really like, but if I have to take one out, I think I would say that what was my mind-blowing moment when I realized what a navigator can do and how I can organize my documentation. I mentioned to you that I was self-taught, so of course, I had a lot of
failures. You hit roadblocks because you haven't been taught properly. You just do it yourself,
because
right?
I didn't know many things, and then it was like filling the holes in my knowledge. We have this expression in Serbian, you're filling the holes in the knowledge. So as I was, especially when I started working in Archicad, I was my learning curve went really up, because then I realized how much I don't know Archicad and how much is there to learn. So when I've learned how to save the views, how to use properly a view map, and how to properly compose the drawings in the layout, I was like, oh my god, this is how while I was doing this manually and saving every piece of a layout before that. I think this is still my favorite, and when I'm teaching Archicad, because here in Graphisoft some of our colleagues are teaching here at the university in Budapest. And this is when I'm teaching to students, this is the most difficult part to explain. That has always been, I think, most difficult part to explain the functionality. But I always say, okay, it's complicated to explain, it's complicated to learn at first, but once you get it, trust me, it will be so much easier to work.
Don't even get me started on how I use pens in the first few projects that I used. I had no idea whatsoever. It was absolutely atrocious, but I'm so glad that I finally broke the mold and understanding, how pens actually work properly within Archicad. But I guess one of the main reasons why I wanted to have these conversations was I have a moderate understanding of the process of software development. And I think the biggest challenge is that, in a similar way in which we talked about the community, I think a lot of people, when you don't know how the process works, you kind of have this kind of layer of fear or anxiety, and you kind of then start questioning, why aren't these things happening in a particular way? But is there something, and I know you're not on the development side, but is there something that you could share with the listeners or the people that are watching right now, something about software development that they may not know, so that it kind of just starts to kind of create a little bit more information in terms of what actually goes on, behind the red bricks that is Graphisoft headquarters.
Well, I'm really hoping that this Graphisoft Talk podcast will, contribute to this puzzle of understanding the process of making a software. When I joined Graphisoft, it was like that for me, discovering a little by little on how the whole organization is functioning and all the teams that are existing, and it was really interesting, to know, we have a translation, people who are localizing Archicad, wow, and I think one of the also big discovery was how large portion of software development is testing. I remember it was, I think, my first visit to Graphisoft, actually, before I started, when we had one of the partner conferences and I was visiting, and they were showing us the building, and there were monitors showing the testing. There was some automatic testing on the screens. And they were explaining, and this is, where we run tests, I don't know, during the night. And then I realized, oh my God, you actually, have this, testing processes, and how much effort it takes to, to make sure that that whatever you're developing, it's working properly. And, we know that still, besides all these efforts, customers are a great helping hand in that, discovering in their daily use. But that was an interesting part for me to realize, that there are this whole organization of, quality assurance and quality control that are testing, and how much, you need to take into consideration that whatever you develop, it needs to go through these processes. I think that's something that people don't think about, who are using software. They think, okay, I have this, wish, I have this feature, here you go, develop it and then, put it out. But collecting feedback, it's also a very complex project. As you said, we have so many localizations. There are so many local standards that need to be taken into consideration. And it's same to what I was saying to you, with the website that, oh, why don't you just implement that? So it's not that easy, because you have responsibility. You have to do the evaluation. You need to collect information everywhere. And that's where customer success is helping a lot, to bring all this feedback. And the product team is doing a lot of their in investigation and assessments before they make decision on doing something. So I don't know, I don't have a concrete secret here to reveal about the software development, but I think this was interesting for me to learn all these different functions that we have. And the reason why I was also keen on starting this podcast was that I really think that there is an interest by Archicad users to learn more about processes, and they will hear it the best from the people that are working in these different teams and on different parts of the project.
So Gordana, we've covered off a lot today on everything that's within Graphisoft, and learnt a lot about you in terms of your career progression and everything you've done within Graphisoft. Now, so that kind of people that are listening can learn a little bit more about, what you do outside of Graphisoft. Is there any kind of specific hobbies or something that you're really passionate about that you kind of, take part in, when you leave the doors at Graphisoft at night or on your weekends?
Well, I mean, I'm curious by nature, as you also said about yourself. I'm interested in different things. I mean, I like, of course, most to spend time with my friends and enjoy free time. But it's again, I will mention something that's a little bit connected again to Graphisoft. I like playing volleyball, and when I joined Graphisoft, I actually, there was a team from Graphisoft who was playing volleyball, and that was amazing for me, because I was new in the town, and I really, it's also very difficult to find people, crew to play volleyball, because it's not you can just, you need at least 3 more people to be able to play successfully. No, I'm joking, but I really like that, because that there again were people who gathered from different departments that I would never work with otherwise. And I really enjoyed that, and we were having a lot of fun. And every summer we are trying to join and to play. And there are a lot of courts here near Graphisoft. And I like different sports to try out. But maybe I can point out that I really like playing chess. And that's another thing that you can do online, and I play online, and I actually play even with some colleagues from Graphisoft. So if there is anyone who is interested to play chess, you can contact me through Graphisoft community.
So that's the hidden secret. So anyone out there that thinks they're a bit of a chess master that wants to take on Gordana, they can do it. Gordana?
I'm not a master. I'm not a chess master. I must say that. I just enjoy playing chess, and I really like, because I learned it when I was a kid, and then for years I haven't been playing chess because, again, it was not easy to find someone who can play, and that was another beauty of online online possibilities, because when I discovered a chess app and you can play with real people online, I was so happy, and I'm playing for years like that, and it's great because I didn't like playing against computer or something. So this is really great, and then over the time you learn that, like, oh, okay, this person is also playing chess, so then you get to play with the people that you actually know. It's even more fun.
So maybe what you could do is start a global Graphisoft or user chess challenge, and you could champion it. Just add something to your list of things that you have to do.
Okay. We actually have in Graphisoft Park, we have a chess competition that I went to a couple of times with other companies from the park. That's been fun, but it's a good idea, Nathan. Yeah, maybe we do that.
Did you win?
I win a couple of.
You won a couple
of games. It's always like that. You win couple, you lose couple, but I like it.
So Gordana, thank you so much for sharing the insights behind your career, your role within Graphisoft, and some of the stuff that you're doing, and also sharing with us some of the stuff that people would definitely not know about in terms of your interest in volleyball and beating people in chess. So thanks very much for your time today.
Thank you very much, and I hope everyone enjoys Graphisoft Talk podcast.